Hi there, and welcome to the Celeb Tea, the dark side of Heather Dubrow, a perfect image unraveled. Heather Dubrow, often nicknamed the fancy pants of the Real Housewives of Orange County, embodied everything that defined Bravo's brand of luxury television. She wasn't loud or erratic like many of her co-stars. Instead, she exuded refinement, poise, and the kind of self-assured grace that made her appear untouchable. Viewers were instantly fascinated by her. The polished woman who lived in multi-million-dollar homes, spoke with the diction of a Hollywood veteran, and wore designer gowns as if they were loungewear. Heather wasn't just part of the show. She was the image the franchise wanted to project: class, control, and composure. But beneath that glossy surface, something darker was slowly taking shape. Heather's calm demeanor and obsession with perfection masked a deeper need for dominance, control, and validation. What began as elegance soon transformed into manipulation as her co-stars and even fans started to see cracks in her carefully curated image. Long before Bravo fame, Heather had already carved a small niche in Hollywood. She acted in sitcoms like That's Life and Jenny during the late 1990s and early 2000s. Off-screen, she married Dr. Mark Drums. Terry Dubrow, a respected plastic surgeon who would later become a household name through the show Botched. Together, the Dubrows symbolized everything aspirational about Orange County life: wealth, ambition, and beauty. When Heather joined the Real Housewives of Orange County in 2012, she stood out immediately. While other cast members thrived on chaos and confrontation, Heather carried herself like someone above the drama. Her speech was calculated, her home immaculate, and her wardrobe impeccable. She often reminded others of her Ivy League education and cultured background, setting herself apart from her peers. But as the seasons progressed, her air of superiority began to alienate both fans and castmates. At first, Heather's behavior seemed harmless. She corrected others' manners, offered unsolicited advice, and always needed to be right. But soon, that precision and control turned into condescension. Castmates like Shannon Beador and Tamra Judge accused her of constantly interrupting, overanalyzing, and talking down to people. Fans noticed the pattern too. Heather wasn't chaotic, she managed chaos. And in a show that thrived on unpredictability, her desire to control every detail became both her signature and her downfall. Behind the scenes, rumors circulated that Heather used her connections with producers to influence how she was portrayed on television. Some co-stars even claimed that her husband's Bravo fame gave her leverage that others didn't have. Whenever drama erupted, Heather often walked away unscathed, her polished image intact, while others looked like the villains. Her ability to stay composed, even in the most heated arguments, made her appear rational, a tactic that quietly discredited her opponents. However, perfection has limits. One of the first major cracks in Heather's armor came during her feud with Kelly Dodd. What began as a simple disagreement quickly escalated into a heated exchange that exposed Heather's less composed side. For the first time, viewers saw flashes of anger and frustration, a woman desperate to maintain control as it slipped through her fingers. The tension came to a head during the 2016 reunion, where multiple castmates confronted her for being manipulative and condescending. Unable to handle the accusations, Heather broke down in tears and walked off the stage, an unforgettable moment that contradicted years of her carefully crafted composure. When she eventually returned to the franchise in 2021 after a long break, fans were curious to see if she had changed. But instead of evolution, they saw repetition. Heather still exuded control and precision, but in a cast filled with younger, more relaxed women, her behavior seemed outdated. Her wealth and refinement, once seen as aspirational, now came across as detached. The new housewives no longer feared or admired her. They found her cold and disconnected. What was once elegance now felt robotic. Heather's persona, once celebrated for sophistication, began to feel like a performance that no longer resonated with modern viewers. Her insistence on rules, her inability to laugh at herself, and her dismissive attitude toward conflict made her seem less like a relatable woman and more like an unapproachable figure trapped in her own perfectionism. Fans who once admired her grace now viewed her as arrogant and out of touch. Still, Heather's image as Fancy Pants wasn't just a nickname, it was her entire identity. She embraced the label with pride, turning it into a symbol of her brand. Her sprawling mansions, her luxury lifestyle, and her obsession with aesthetics became central to her storyline. But while the show thrived on relatability and raw emotion, Heather's extravagant displays of privilege felt increasingly tone-deaf, especially during times when audiences were grappling with financial struggles and social change. Heather defended herself by saying that her lifestyle represented standards, not vanity. Yet the line between aspiration and alienation had already blurred. Her endless pursuit of elegance came to symbolize something deeper, a fear of vulnerability. The more polished she appeared, the less genuine she seemed. Underneath the marble countertops and designer gowns, there was an emotional distance that even her co-stars couldn't ignore. Her need for control didn't just apply to her friendships or her image, it extended into her marriage as well. Fans often described her relationship with Terry as structured and businesslike. Heather frequently referred to running her household like a corporation, complete with systems, rules, and expectations. While their on-screen chemistry often seemed playful, viewers noticed that Terry sometimes appeared frustrated during arguments, while Heather remained unnervingly calm. Many began to wonder if her control, once admirable, had become suffocating. The Dubrow's brand, meanwhile, grew into a full-fledged empire. Together, they built a portfolio of businesses, skincare lines, supplements, podcasts, books, and multiple reality projects. Every product, every post, and every appearance reinforced one central message. The Dubrows have mastered the art of living perfectly. But critics questioned whether that message was empowering or exploitative. Heather and Terry's empire promoted beauty and success as commodities, ideals that few could ever attain. Heather often spoke about authenticity, family, and self-worth, yet she simultaneously sold anti-aging creams and luxury products that preached the opposite. This contradiction became one of her most criticized traits. Fans began to see her not as an inspirational figure, but as someone profiting off insecurity. Every appearance, every carefully curated moment seemed less like reality and more like a commercial. The fall of Fancy Pants. As the years went on, Heather Dubrow's empire expanded, but her warmth didn't. What once felt aspirational began to feel artificial. Every word, every appearance, every gesture seemed rehearsed. Even her podcast, Heather Dubrow's World, which was meant to be a more personal and unfiltered platform, only deepened that impression. Listeners expected honesty and connection. Instead, many found arrogance and detachment. Her tone often came across as dismissive, especially when she discussed former co-stars or Bravo drama. Jokes meant to sound witty felt condescending, and attempts at sincerity seemed calculated. Critics accused Heather of using her podcast to rewrite her own history, to cast herself as the misunderstood victim of gossip and jealousy. Rather than softening her image, it reinforced the perception that Heather couldn't take accountability. Fans who once admired her perfectionism now saw it as emotional armor, a defense mechanism against showing vulnerability. Her confidence no longer inspired, it isolated. Social media, too, became a mirror of this growing disconnect. Heather's posts, immaculately lit photos of luxury homes, designer clothes, and expensive dinners, clashed with audiences who were beginning to crave authenticity over affluence. As reality TV shifted toward relatability and transparency, Heather's brand of controlled elegance started to feel out of place. Viewers began labeling her cold, robotic, and out of touch with the modern Bravo landscape. The sale of her lavish Orange County mansion for an astonishing $55 million became yet another symbol of her detachment. Instead of simplifying her life, Heather and Terry immediately began constructing an even bigger home, complete with every imaginable luxury. To many fans, it confirmed what they already suspected. Heather wasn't just living large, she was trapped by her own image. Her mansion wasn't a sanctuary, it was a gilded cage, a physical manifestation of the perfection she couldn't escape. When Heather announced her departure from the Real Housewives of Orange County, she framed it as a choice, a graceful exit to prioritize privacy and family. But insiders told a different story. Behind the scenes, her relationships with castmates had soured. She was described as controlling, distant, and difficult to work with. The woman who once commanded respect had become the one everyone tiptoed around. Her return in 2021 was supposed to be triumphant, a comeback that would remind fans why they loved fancy pants in the first place. Instead, it exposed how much the world had changed. The show now revolved around authenticity, humor, and chaos, traits Heather could no longer relate to. Her attempts to assert authority were met with eye rolls from newer castmates who weren't intimidated by her. On screen, she looked uncomfortable, out of sync, and unsure how to adapt to a culture that had moved past her brand of perfection. Heather Dubrow's story isn't one of scandal or betrayal, it's one of slow unraveling. Her downfall wasn't explosive, it was quiet, the natural result of living behind walls of marble and manners for too long. Perfection became her prison. The more she controlled, the less relatable she became, until even her admirers grew distant. In the end, Heather didn't lose her empire. She lost her connection. The warmth that once made her charm believable had faded, replaced by precision and performance. Her journey stands as a reflection of modern fame itself. When every moment becomes a production, authenticity dies quietly in the background. Heather Dubrow built a brand around flawlessness, but that same pursuit of control consumed the humanity that made her compelling. Behind the pearls and chandeliers was a woman so intent on staying untouchable that she forgot how to be real. In her quest to live perfectly, she built not just a mansion, but a mirror. And when the lights dimmed, all that remained was her own reflection staring back, polished but painfully alone.